All right. Let's go make something here. What to make? What to make? All right. Here we go. Let me hide some elements. Okay. Hide. Okay. There we go. Hello, 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 hello. Okay, one. Okay, I'm gonna have to hold on my chat. There we go. Hooray! I'm doing something. Uh-oh. My webcam got moved. All right, there we go. Well, it doesn't matter. Nobody's watching. All right, let's stream for a little bit here. Let's have some fun. Actually, I'm thinking I want to play a little bit more with this element. So let's, I'm going to use this project primitive again. I don't want to see, I don't want to go a little bit more crazy, maybe a little bit with this. Something very different. Let it do the work itself. All right, you're watching? Okay. Then my chat is not updating because it still says nobody's watching. Nobody's caring. Kind of want to put a little bit more into this design. Just kind of have a little, I don't know. I'm just allowing kind of this to do the work for me a little bit. And see what we actually come up with. Let's change the opacity. This is getting really weird, but hey, you know what? Why not? Why not? Why not? Get a little weirdy. Kind of like that. Interesting. Don't like that. Don't like that at all. Let's undo. I kind of liked when it was just bulging out like this a little bit. Let's make this bigger. Kind of want to pay attention to that a little bit more. Just experimenting right now with some ideas. Trying to figure out, do I want to go, how different do I want to go with this? Do we do something? What if I did that? Something like that. Maybe. What if we did something? This, let's size it down a little bit more. Interesting. I think that's the whole stream's going to be today is interesting. Interesting. Okay, that's kind of something funky, weird. Okay, so what I don't like, let's cancel this actually. Let's delete this and let's go back. Let's get rid of these little things on the front. Let's I don't like those right now. Okay, so now we're back to this. It looks funny. Kind of was, we were going for this kind of a thing. Size it down. Need some more tessellation. What if I do this and then let's taper it a little bit. Now if I move this in, do I like what's happening here? Maybe bring this more forward. This, and then maybe not so much here. Interesting. Size it down a lot more. Okay, I think I might be doing a little too much tapering there. I'm just trying to play with some discovery elements here. Those happy little mistakes, let them naturally happen. Just let them come into play. Yikole, don't like that at all. No, no, no. Let's bring back the whole. I keep gravitating towards this. The kind of like the bulginess. It's almost like he's got some massive cheek thing happening. I kind of like when it's getting obviously larger in the back. It also really sells that is the back, in all honesty. You know what? Let's reset this. I think let's do a full reset. Because I am digging the, let's just maybe put some more volume in the back here. Like just make it even some kind of bulging back. He's got a headache. He's got a headache now. Something like this. Just give it a little more width in places. I think kind of like that. Okay. I say I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to accept this. Worst case scenario 2 will store before we went through all this. There. Let's store that. Just for giggles. Otherwise change, so history recall. Kind of just see if some of this can get pushed back in a little bit. And then smooth. Do I kind of like what's happening there? I think, let's put this in. Oh, Dinah. Oh, Dinah. Let's get the highest resolution. Okay, the 200s. Let's Dynamesh this so that I can do this. And then let's mirror and weld it over. Just something a little different. Oops, let me turn symmetry on. Hey, again, if you got questions, by all means, I am not working on the iPad version. However, I did start messing around with this model on the iPad version, honestly. That's kind of what I started doing. I was just sitting actually in the dining room by my house, and I just started, you know what? Let's start having some fun with some kind of mech piece. And I kind of just started the process on the iPad, and then I just Z'd it over to the desktop is what I ended up doing, in all honesty. That's exactly what I did. So let's do a little pinch-a-roo. One thing I like to do, like this line I'm establishing right there, kind of establishing a nice little line right there. You can use the pinch to really establish that line. But what you might want to do is you do it once and hit the 1 key, and you can see we're going to really get that line a little bit better. Then let's establish this one a little bit more. Hit the 1 key so it's in the same exact direction, right? Just start I just want some of that bulkiness to happen. I want something else happening on the front of the head too. Okay. I kind of, you know what? I want to see if I bring a little bit more of this. Whoops. Bring a little bit more of this forward. Just a little bit more, and then we can clip it. What do we think? Do we like something like this? It's just giving a very different look to him. It's amazing how much this little project primitive will change, like just the forms and your shape, right? Like, look, now he's got some spherical. I don't know if I like this one as much. Here, let's see, either that. Okay, I think I like the volume a little bit more here, so I'm gonna accept this, and then I'm just gonna slowly blend this in now, and then let's establish that line a little bit more. Redynamesh. Let's get rid of some of these lines that I kind of added. Kind of just reestablish some stuff. Switch that H polish. Make it your friend when you're doing hard surface sculpting. It is very, very beneficial brush. I love it. It's one of my favorites for sure. And I just noticed that I haven't been working in symmetry mode. Why would you want to do that? Why would that make any sense? It's a mech thing that I'm making, so they're usually relatively pretty symmetrical in all honesty, right? So we might as well work in symmetry. Just adding some volume, getting rid of that so it looks like it wasn't just a bunch of spheres thrown together making this. So just get rid of some of these lines that I put in here. And again, I'm in like kind of this design, I don't know where I'm going phase. What am I doing? Well, here's a little pinpoint. I never know what I want to do. But we got something going here now. Okay, I kind of just like having this wider head. I want something else, right? So I see kind of like this kind of thing starting to happen through here, right? So I like to use also just kind of some quick establishing lines. So one thing you would like to do is maybe, especially in this, make an undo marker. And then when you are making these lines, if you don't like them, because I haven't changed the polygon count, I can actually use the morph brush to even erase. So even though I'm sculpting, I'm creating a non-destructive type of workflow here. And this is, I definitely do not care for this silhouette at all. So let's use this. I saw a question. Let's see. I just heard the desktop version UI is getting a facelift. Yes, we announced that we are looking at what we can do on the desktop UI for sure. We're taking our experience and our learnings from the iPad and feedback as well. Do you know the size limits for the new 3D scanner function for the iPad? What do you mean by size limit? Do you mean like polygon count limit, or are you talking like megabytes of the file size itself? Which one are you referring to? I can't talk too much because there's obviously stuff that we're still doing. I can't give you guys a crazy amount of details. But I can try and answer as many questions as I can. Okay. Thick skin question. I forgot how to use it in a large area or entire object and not get smears. It's like it's a side tangent, okay? Will the dynamics work like with like a bag of marbles? Sure. Yes, it's just dynamics. That would work. The physical size of the scan object. No, there's no limit, but we are using Apple's technology in the iPad, so they do limit the polygon count on mobile devices. They don't allow any more than 50,000 triangles right now. So that is the only major limit, per se, as far as that goes. I can give a crash course on project primitives for sure, because I'm going to keep using it, because I kind of like using project primitives when I'm trying to do some kind of hard surface, like kind of organic hard surface piece where I want it to be hard surface, but I want it to also have some organicness to it. So yeah, we can go through that for sure. And right now I'm also using some live boolean. So like I have this. So I think maybe for now I'll turn that off. Just so I'm just dealing with this flat, okay, face. And I think I'm going to, let's make this right there. I want that polygroup. Is what I want. I want that polygroup right there. I want that polygroup. Okay. Because I'm gonna see. I think I'm gonna play with that a little bit and see what I can make happen with this. I just want to have something else happening. It from this profile, it looks like he ran into a wall. It's definitely not working. Okay. 3/4. I'm starting to feel that volume I needed for me. I'm feeling that a little bit more. There's definitely some more in there. And see what we're going to do with that. Yeah, I can show it really quick. No problem. The dynamics I can show. I can show the thick skin. Okay, let's do the thick skin one first. Okay. So you're asking about thick skin. So let's open this up. This is pretty much a feature that restricts. Like, so for me, I even will tend to use it for hard surface. So for example, I really like using the chisel brushes. Here, I'm going to grab this one where I can kind of draw this, right? I can start using this as creating some accenting items that I would probably do on this piece, right? Then start playing with this for sure. I would do this even if it's just doing something like this. So for now, let's just divide up so you guys can see a little bit like the quality here, right? So this is the stroke I can get, right? So by default, it's just going to work based upon the 3D alpha that I have. And then you have this, right? So this is the kind of stuff I will start to do once I get a little bit more of the design, right? This is how we start bringing the hard surface part to life a little bit more, I think, in my opinion. All right. So if you turn on thick skin, it's just now establishing, okay, there is now a thickness that it's allowed to go into. So now you can see this brush now is becoming new scribe line. I'm not getting the double that I was getting before, right? And don't forget, you can do this. So stuff like that, I love this, right? Adding these little types of raised accents or cut-in accents, this is where thick skin can come into play, right? So if I switch to, say, just a sculpt, let's just switch to clay buildup so you'll see it. If I start building up my surface and building up my surface, there's going to be a point where it plateaus, in essence, where I'm not allowed to do anything else, right? Through here. Like this is it. This is the max that it's allowed to go to, right? And then same thing for digging in. See, eventually that's it. I can't dig in any further than this. So I find it very invaluable to kind of use this for experimenting, kind of use it for things. And then obviously the slider adjusts in essence the depth. So if I go lower, right, you'll see it kind of inflates out. If I go and put this lower, and now if I try to do this, you can see I'm pretty much stuck at this level now. No matter where I go, I can't go any lower. And then negative wise, see, I can't dig any more than this, right? So for example, I might say, you know, I kind of want to accent this line even more, and maybe I want to do something here that kind of digs across the surface like this, right? And then now maybe I want it to come down here, then maybe come through here like this. And then now I just got to, you know, dig out the rest of this. And now I've created a multiple level kind of model here, right? Stuff like that. But I'm doing it sculpturally. So for me, I would probably put it at something even back up around that, let's say that 20 number, and then say, okay, I want to actually not dig into the surface. I kind of want to raise the surface and have some kind of raised portion of this. And then this is what thick skin can do too. Even though I'm doing this, you see I'm still keeping the hard surface. And in fact, I would probably use the standard brush instead of the brush I'm using, or even just use the clay brush to do this, because you'll probably get a better kind of maybe results through here. Okay, and again, of course, you can use masking, right, to control this as well. So now you have that, right? So if we go backwards, let's go to here. So if I created a mask like this and then we inversed it, if I just do this real fast, right? I'm just sculpting in these elements. And again, the standard brush might be the better brush to use for this, for what I'm doing right now. But you'll notice if I hide my mask, you see it's not, I'm creating now this kind of other portion of the model. And this is the kind of stuff I like doing with hard surface, layering things. Okay? The thick skin is applied. It is actually applied. That's what this is applied as. There is no in between. However, because I did a morph target and I didn't redynamesh, right? I made a marker so I can start marking back. So if I turn off thick skin, right, and then I can even use, let's see, brush history, recall. Let's see, let's go back to before I did thick skin here. Okay, and then now this. And then see, I can actually even erase it if I want to, or do a more controlled erase right now, right? Something like this, right? And then if the polygon count does not change, you can actually use the morph target as well. So I definitely don't like this. It was just kind of showing it to you, okay? So there's your thick skin. Yeah, it's like I guess you can look at it as a manual extrude or extruding, but it's sculpturally. And then you can use it like to make it look like you're sculpting with clay. That's why there's a thick skin clay brush right here, this one. So if you turn thick skin on, it's going to look like you're actually like real life, like this was actual clay in my hand that I'm throwing down, right? That was also our goal, is trying to get this look in there. And then you can do some really cool stuff. Think about even I'm doing hard surface. I could see thick skin being used really well. Like I knocked this way down, and then think about it. You grab something like the rake brush, right? Right? You can start doing stuff like that looks like kind of like damage in certain areas, right? So, and if you start, digging in, it's almost like as if it was in a battle, and like this is chipped paint away, right? And then of course, you can start throwing other elements into this, i.e. as if I start throwing this with some paint on top of it, right? And then now we do this. I'm going to do some black. Let's do a dark gray. And then now see, I'm designing, right, with this brush as if it's damaged. But then, right, the thick skin's only going to let it go this low, as if I'm damaging through the paint jobs, like multiple paint cycles, and then I am painting and sculpting at the same time, right? This kind of stuff is also where you can take advantage of this. There's a lot. I think thick skin is an underutilized feature, in my opinion. I think it's extremely powerful, and I just don't think people are really using it and playing with it enough, in my opinion, of course. Okay, so, all right. So, the marble question that you were asking, so if you just had spheres, okay, and then I just started duplicating some, just putting them in different spots throughout here. All right, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. Let's just do something like this. Okay, and then now if I say let's append a plane, let's just say here's a plane. Let's make it a lot bigger. All right, we'll go to here and kind of just rotate this up like this. Okay, I don't know if those look like marbles. It looks more like grapes to me, but we'll get the idea. And then now dynamically, you need to tell ZBrush to go get the collision volume, and then now you can run it. And I would probably, to do something like this, I would go to the transpose cloth first. And then now you're seeing this is doing it right now. Let me flip my normal so you guys can kind of see what we're doing here. And we'll turn double on. And on top of that, we'll turn dynamic on. And now it's got dynamic on. And let's even with the dynamics. Let's go here. Let's add a little bit of thickness to this. So there's a little bit of thickness as if it was a wrapper. And then now make it look like something else, right? Make it actually look like some kind of wrap. So this is going to, if you keep pulling this, it's going to just keep appreciating and trying to wrap to those right in there. Okay, that's what it's going to do. Right, so if I add a little bit of smoothness, then this is what you're going to get. Right, and so this is a pattern. So if we do something a little bit maybe like this, right, or like this, chainmail. This is this what you're asking? So as long as you're doing this, right, and then I can just pull it towards, I'm gonna pull it towards this direction, and then it'll look like it's like a stack with like the marbles or grapes in there. Then you can switch to any brush, right? So we have cloth brushes. So there's a cloth move, and you can go to bigger, and then just start moving the surface, and it's going to try and keep colliding with whatever it can. Is that what you were asking? Someone was asking about that. I forget who it was. Who was it? West 3D Art. Does that answer your question for you? Obviously, I can run this. I would probably run a deflate probably on this, honestly. And I would turn off gravity and then run simulation. And then now it's deflating inward. And then just let the algorithm do some of the colliding for me. Right? So you can see that middle section is now starting to get closer and 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 closer. Right? And then if you want a little bit more inflation, maybe we want a little bit more room in there. And then see now I will not be colliding so close in this scenario with the spheres I have in the middle. So because I upped the inflation to 2 instead of 1. Okay. So did we lose you, S3D Art? I don't know why my chat still says 0 people are watching. So I don't know why the chat is doing that. I'm at a loss. Let's see if I have the standalone chat just to see what it does. Because I feel like I'm alone. I'm all by myself. Nobody's here. Let's see. Restream. Hold on. Let me see if launching this app. Hold on. I want to see if this gives me you guys, so I know how many people are actually here. Give me a second, because right now it's weird that this is not updating. And okay, even the app itself says I'm all by myself. All by myself. Don't wanna be. All right, thank you, Philippe. 31. Okay. All right, so West 3D, good. If you drop the sphere into there, you can, but you don't want to put the sphere then, because the sphere is then what is the thing that's going to collide and change in shape. So you want to use the sphere. So if anything, you want to probably put a plane in the bottom and just pull a plane up, and then they're colliding with the spheres. You know, what really would be the best thing for like even this, honestly, would be forget even the plane thing I did. Just take these, right? And then duplicate them. And then make these all be welded together. Right? So I would probably turn them in quickly to a Dynamesh. Right? And then I'd probably say that's it. Then I'm going to remesh it and just get it lower polygon count. I don't want a high polygon count. I want something pretty low. Okay? And then this is already, right, kind of close to the surface, but it's low. And then now you could just use this to build something. So you could create a hole across the top, right? And use the slice curve. And then even if I just did this, and then now see there, that's kind of gone there, right? And then do a delete hidden. Modify, delete hidden, and then say, okay, I need to do a little bit more. Let's go from this view and take a look at what else I can chop off. I'd say maybe even go as extreme as this. And then now I would remesh this again, get rid of the triangles. And now I've got like a surface that already started with there. Now you start to move it around. Then you might want to start moving in this scenario. I would probably start using the move elastic a little bit because it's a little bit more elasticy around. And then you can smooth it out. Like you could go this route, right? Where you kind of already got the shape and then just use the shape itself to kind of start conforming the surface, right? Like this. And then now obviously if you recalculate the collisions, you calculate this, and then this brush itself, right? We put it in elasticity. So right here, simulations. Now by turning this on to 100, this brush is now going to work as if it's colliding with the surface, right? So you could do this kind of stuff too, if that makes sense. It's not looking the prettiest, but that's a way to go as well. Okay, so that takes care of the dynamics question. That takes care of the thick skin question. There was another question that came up. I don't remember what it is. Putting a bunch of subtools in the folder at once is super easy. It's actually my preferred method. So I'll just use the demo soldier since we know we've got some subtools. So I want to make a folder. Let's say I want to put all of his clothes in one folder, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to turn on your gizmo, and then you're going to turn on the multiple subtool selection, which old joke is it looks like pizza boxes, okay? So this is what you would turn on, and then now you want to use your selection, which is your Control-Shift, okay? Like this kind of a thing. So here, we'll switch to this so you guys. So as you can see, I'm swapping where I see the whole model, and then I see kind of like it's half rendering pixel kind of a thing. But what I can do then is I can hold down Control-Shift and tap and say I want that. I won't put the boots. Let's put this in. Let's put the shirt in. Okay, so I want all of this to be in a folder. Now you just hit either Control-F for me. Obviously, if you come over here, you can just hit New Folder. Okay, so Control-F. And then it's asking, do you want to put this in folders? I'm going to say always yes. And then now you just name it what you want. And then boom, it's in the folder. It's that simple. That's it. That's all you got to do. That's it. So now that's how you would make multiple subtools to be in one folder. So it's the same, no matter what you load, it's going to be like if I loaded Ryan's skeleton, right? Just the skeleton alone. If I wanted certain, like just all the arms, including the hands, right? So if I do this, and then so now I say, hey, let's make that a folder. And then I just say arms. There, I just, put everything in a folder, in essence. Right? So stuff like this too, you can do. Right? So now I got that folder in there. Right? So this would be something I'd separate as different subtools and then go from there. All right? Hopefully that answers that question. Helps for you. Okay, why can't you cut a whole knife starting with an edge? I know you make holes in many different ways. I'm wondering why not the simplest one. We didn't write the algorithm to do that. That's it. The knife brush can't cut through the entire surface. And because we had live booleans that you could just do that for, I could just throw any shape in there. So it's obviously something that we can look into adding in the future development. But it's not there. When we developed it, it wasn't a thought. So that's why. And then now we would have to revisit and have it appreciate that. That's all. Why is simulation iteration a slider and not a simple on and off button? Increments done seem to be do much. Oh, really works one. No, this is important. So you're talking about this? No, this is super important. We don't want it an on off because it's then only running the algorithm once. By having a slider, we're rerunning the algorithm 100 times over and over and over on itself. And depending on what you're trying to do with it, you might want to crank that up even more or actually bring it down. So if we made it only on and off state, you're stuck. It's like, okay, run the algorithm. It's kind of like, think about in the process, hey, if we took this guy, think about in this sense, like a deformation, I can do any of these one time like this. But if I wanted it to be more of a stronger inflation, right, I'd have to keep keep running this slider, keep running this slider, keep running this slider, keep running the slider. So what we did is, hey, let's take the algorithm and let's just make a slider that actually can rerun the algorithm over and over and over and over and over and over again. And then so if you just want to run the algorithm once, you knock that down to 1. So it gives us way more flexibility, and for you guys as users, way more flexibility. So we prefer to live on the world of flexibility as much as we can, compared to let's just make it only an on and off states. So that is why we made that decision, and I don't see us changing that. That's something I don't think will change. Maybe. I never say never to anything. So, okay, you're done. I answered the question about the thick skin. It is applied. There is no need to apply it. It is applied. When you start using thick skin, it is applied. There's nothing to apply. Once you turn on that thick skin, that is applying it. I don't know if that answers your question that you're asking about that. Is there a way to do landscape, hydraulic, river, erosion, corrosion in ZBrush? Like, have somehow, maybe using terrain tools. So you're just trying to do terrain, is what you're trying to do. Obviously, you can use surface noise to do that, to kind of help with terrain, and it's really going to be more alpha driven. And then, yeah, you could do something also like using thick skin to help with that too. In the same token, if I get what you're trying to do, sculpturally, you could do that for sure. Right. So you do digging into the surface in essence, right? So you're just sculpturally going to dig into something, right? So again, if I have thick skin is on. And now if I just switch the clay buildup, if I start digging in, see there's going to be a point where it stops digging, and then now this is in essence, and then I can build it up. And now I'm kind of building up my own erosion on there, right? And then now it's a combination of lighter, harder, and then switching to different brushes like the rake brush, right? And start doing this, right? And stuff like that. And then maybe cutting into the surface instead. I'm not sure if this is what you're asking about and what you're kind of looking for something like this. If this is what you're looking for, you'd have to tell me if this is kind of what you're thinking. But it's a great way to make something with like a damage and different things. We're looking at what possibilities there could be for certain AI elements. I couldn't say much. We're really a strong believers in letting the artist be an artist and do the work, but I can definitely see where AI could come in handy to help us be artists, but not replace us as artists in a way. So I couldn't say what we're going to be doing for sure, but I can say there are discussions we're having and seeing what possibilities there could be for AI. You're thinking more like a river flow on a mountain? I would just mask it. Like if I made a mountain, right? Here, where is that terrain? Here's a terrain 3D. And then I can kind of play with the terrain itself. And then open this one up. Let's have this be a little bit different that direction, maybe. Just letting the curve do some of the work. Okay. So if you have enough sculpting, right, done, and if you start having brush move, I need to make it a poly mesh, and then I just start building. So okay, now if you want something to go through here, like I want some kind of river element or something to come through here, for me, I think the easiest thing would just be to actually mask off through here. Like that is your river terrain in essence, like what you want to come through here, I would say. Let's just say something like this, and then just inverse it, and then now flatten it, right? So I can even just use the, well, this is using dynamics now. So let me switch. So you can just start flattening And then there's kind of like a terrain going through there now. Some kind of element happening through the plane. I'm not sure if this is what you're looking for. I'm not a big terrain guy, but these are things that you could experiment with for sure. And obviously I'd have something a lot nicer than what I threw together. Right? Okay, you're talking about what I turned up over here in the brush. This simulation iteration is in essence is telling the brush how much should it actually even look at simulations iteration. So because there might be times where you're making a brush where you do want some collision a little bit, but not a ton of collision. So that's kind of what that slider's allowing you to actually then control instead of it just being on and off. If it's on and off, then it's always 100%. Pay attention to the strongest collision settings that I have in dynamics, or don't pay attention at all. So this I can kind of do like a 50-50, like, right? If we put it at 50, then it's saying, okay, allow collision, but not at its fullest strength based upon the settings in dynamic. That's why it's a slider. It just opens up, again, more flexibility, more hiring. Sorry, I was looking at the person asking about hiring. I can't comment on hiring. All of our hiring, though, that we have is on our website. I couldn't say what we're doing right now. So that's why I would do that. Okay, following rules. Nick, good to see you. Question about the rules for Polygroup it. I'm using Kiosk Mason's method to define edges with a black line. Had issues getting the line to be recognized. Yeah, there's an issue that I need to go once. I think it happened once we started playing with ARM processors. So I have a quick fix for you. So what he's bringing up, guys, everybody else is watching. Let's do this. Let's turn this into, let's turn this. Let's get rid of this. Let's turn this into a Dynamesh now. Okay, I'm a big fan of this myself. So painting, let's do paint. Okay, so let's fill this with the color of white. Right, I'm going to flip it, and then now I start to paint, right? So we want pure black is what we want now. So I can start making shapes, right? And then whatever shape I make, as long as we have the black border put in like this, right? So if I make another shape like this, this is then a built-in shape. So this has got no polygroups, right? So what he's bringing up is when you go in the plugin section, go to Polygroup, and you click either one of these two buttons. If you click this, it just makes a new polygroup. So I found there's an issue that I got to go dive in and find out what happened with the algorithm for this. But there is a fix for you, Nick, that if you want to keep using this, that before I can find why this is not working with a single click, I will do in our poly paint section, I will adjust colors, and then you can just up your contrast to 1 here, and then now you have this, right? Would be one way, and then now you can say this, and then see it gets the polygroups. So that would be one way. The other thing would be probably maybe knock down your focal shift, so you are just painting with like a solid black, like there's no gradient there, and then we can try that. Yeah, that's, let's see, let's do Control W. Yeah, it's still not finding it. So that the color thing is the best I go, but also you can maybe try Sculptures Pro as well, because obviously you're getting more tessellation there, right? So that's not finding it either. So this is the only thing that I found, that if you up the contrast here, then it starts to find the borders and it creates the polygroups for you. I gotta look into why this is happening. Okay. So that's all you need. You have to add that extra step, unfortunately, Nick, right now. Okay, I'm just catching up. There is no pixel logic anymore. It's gone. So yeah, I'm with Maxon. I came over, the whole team came over with the acquisition of ZBrush. Yeah, this will be available always. So this stream stays. It just stays on our YouTube channel. So it's not going anywhere. So once I'm done, it's going to be here forever, unfortunately. Okay. We use focal shift. Yeah, so the -100 moving the pressure sensitivity should probably work as well, but I've found that the adjust colors at least gives you a workaround. And I got to get this fixed. I noticed the problem too when I was teaching it. I got to dive into it and figure out what's wrong with it. Okay. I think... Rodolfo, what are you doing here? Well, aren't you supposed to be sleeping? It's Friday night, Rodolfo. It's Friday night. Okay, well, actually, you know what? Okay, so let's go back. Are there any other questions before I go back and trying to figure out what the heck I was making? Because someone also asked for me to show off project primitive, which is kind of where I'm using to make this model. Is I'm really using project primitive to kind of make this model, where I'm just getting those simple forms and shapes in there. So, and right now I just don't like the front of the face. I'm not a fan of this at all. Not one bit. Right? So let's Dynamesh it. So we're back to Dynamesh world. Okay. So I need to figure out some other elements, okay, in here. Maybe I want to play with this. I got to figure out something here for the front end. You know, sometimes it's just fun to... I really live in these deformers sometimes. And you can get some really interesting things. Right? For example, extender. I'm a massive fan of extender. I just really love this. This will just extend the model like this, right? But if I move that blue dot, this blue dot somewhere else, like let's say maybe I go here, and then I don't want to be symmetrical, I can do just from there and then add something like this, right? In there, right? And then of course, if you want to start doing other elements with this, you can move it up in here, right? Where this is plays a role on what gets pulled out, right? So I can also, you know, look at just different ways. I can push it in as well. I can push these in, right? Push these out and just make something really wonky and really weird. I find also myself going to a deformer as well, and then maybe looking at it in the context of like this, and then maybe only these. I kind of want to, maybe this is what I'm missing to kind of just come up with something very different. Like that already to me is a little bit more interesting, I think, right? And then now maybe this would be more interesting if I actually made it be sharp instead. Do I prefer that silhouette when I'm looking at that view, or do I prefer this silhouette? Right? Kind of, all right, we got something interesting going here, right? So I tend to use this. So you guys were asking about the project primitive. I think it is definitely one of the most complicated deformers to use, but I think it's the most powerful deformer we have, period. Because of what you can do with it, and then what you can make from it, and how you can blend things together. It's super easy to use once I break you through this all, okay? I get it. It's got a lot of cones. Is it something that I wanted to always have? No. So this is something I'd like to revisit and try and see if we can make this way simpler. But just the concept of it and what it's capable of doing is huge. And then, no, you can do that, right? So here we go. So I'm going to break this down as easy as I possibly could. Okay. I see your question about the knife lasso. The best thing to do is reach out to our support, especially if you have a model. That way we can use that model to investigate with. It's most likely bad topology is what maybe making that crash when you're doing that. It could be the bad topology or the way the lasso is making. Also, I would probably turn on lazy mouse with the lasso knife, because then you'll get a smoother curve as well. That might be something you do. We can visit it, but let's get to the project primitive. Okay, so it's like when you open this, you're like, cones everywhere. You get a cone, everybody gets one, yay! Right? Obviously, you scroll over, we'll tell you below the gizmo what the cones do, right? So this is some helpful things. But what I really want you guys to focus on is the bounding boxes. There's two, in essence, okay? The big bounding box, if you look, is actually the bounding box of the model that I'm making, right? So if you look from the top, from there to there, you look from the front, from there to there, side, there to there. So the one biggest bounding box is, okay, ZBrush goes, okay, here is your model as a whole. Here's the whole thing. The other bounding box is the actual primitive that's being used to jump in there. And I see my audio is getting really high. Am I getting very scratchy or pitchy? Do I need to turn down my gain? Is it getting too ridiculous for us? Because I can see it is. Let me see if I can adjust this a little bit. Okay, I'm good. All right, I don't need to turn it down then. Okay. I'll go more in this route though, because I saw it spiking. So, okay. As long as we're good. All right, so that box that's inside right now, think about that as the primitive. So as I pull on the primitive with the gizmo, right now it's a sphere that's selected. So I'm going to do this to make it really simple for you guys to understand this as fast as possible. So this corner right over here with the three cones, with the pink, with the purple, and with the white, okay? So this is just, okay, these are the three major things of what you want to do with the primitives to start with. I'm going to pull up with this purple, and then now it's just strictly going to make a sphere. To the point where I can literally see a sphere now in this, okay? So now if you'll see, these set of cones here, right, are like a global cones to the whole model. What is this primitive going to do also globally? These cones are the local item of the primitive itself. What do you want the primitive to actually be in essence? So what I mean by that is now this orange cone allowed me to make it go squared or kind of have a rounding square. Then I can go sphere, but then I can also go kind of diamond shape. So this orange cone is swapping between the primitive being from a diamond shape to a sphere shape to a square, and then it's slowly transitioning as if it's an animation through there. I'm going to keep polyframe on. Let's turn off the lines for now so you guys can just see, make it easier. So, right? So you guys can see this, right? Going through this to this to this to this, okay? So what we did is you can hold the shift key and snap by point. So if I hold the shift key, I can get 0.5, which will make a perfect sphere. And then I can go 0.4, 0.3, 0.2, and all the way down now get a diamond. So the yellow cone, when we started developing, it's like, okay, these are only like three kind of shapes that you can transition into. Let's do more. So if I go to do the yellow up one, now I get 2 cones. This is mathematically called something. I cannot remember what this is called. But what we're doing now is we have, in essence, double profiles that we can play with. So not only can we play with a square, diamond, and sphere, but we also now can start making cylindrical shapes as well. Okay, so if I start playing with this, you'll see I'm getting shape change in one direction. And if I change with this one, now I'm getting it in the other direction, right? So in essence, this cone is changing. What am I doing this direction, right? And then this cone is changing. What am I doing this direction, right? So this is how I can kind of go with, hey, you know what? I want something that's kind of like that. I want some kind of somewhat cylindrical piece that but it's flat on the both caps of it, right? And that's all this is. And it's just how much of a profile do you want to change? Like, do you want to go just a straight cube now? Or do you want to, no, just let's round that off a little bit. Or do you want to round it off a lot? Or maybe go the other direction and now it's a cube this way, or go this where it's kind of inflated cube. Do you want to now maybe also pull and change this profile, right? So that's what these cones are doing. They're just changing the profile, okay? You like that phrase? I used to know what the name of it was. I could tell you, but it's something weird, the mathematical terminology for this. I don't remember. Right, so then that's the second type of things that you can do. So if I go to the third one, this is now saying, hey, I'm working cylindrically pretty much. So if I put this at 0.5 and I put this at 0.5, I get a perfect cylinder. Okay, that's what this is doing. The third option with this yellow cone, you see primitive type number 3, this is a cylinder. So, but this will gain, do we want it to taper in either of the directions? Right, so almost like a cylindrical pyramid now, if I want to. And then this is saying, how much of it do you want to be a cylinder or a cube? In what direction? That's all this is doing. right? Is what direction do you want this to go? Do you want something like this? And then you want it to the taper. Okay, that's what this is. And then there's a fourth type, which you guys can clearly see what this is. It's a torus. Okay, so then this is saying, well, do you want a torus to have a large opening in the middle? Do you want it to kind of be more of a donut shape? Or do you want it to be like, I use this one a lot, right? Something like this. Or do you want to be more of a donut or go the other direction where it's a cylinder in essence with a hole in the center of it? And then the width, I just do this to change the width, right? So in essence, I'm manipulating what primitive do I want to start playing with and going with. And right now, I'm telling ZBrush, hey, this primitive, don't project it into the surface. Just make it, in essence, as if I inserted this. And then I can do this, right? Maybe I want to do some kind of like big ring thing here. And I don't know why, but I want this in there. And then this little white dot, I can actually limit it to do stuff like this. And then I can say, okay, now I want to do this, right? So to get this shape, I'm using project primitive to help me get this shape that I'm looking for. So we turn this off. Now this is what my model starts to look like. Okay. And the white dot that I clicked on this is a clipping. As if, guys, it's almost like we're having multiple brushes built into this. This is why this is so powerful. These white dots are in essence your clipping brushes, where I can clip things if I want to, right? Okay, I can clip this direction and do something like that if I want, right? That's what these white dots are. They're like clippings. So I can clip stuff if I want to, right? So now if I change this up and take this orange cone and say, you know what, don't make it a new surface. Now it's looking to just blend in to the existing mesh, right? So as I move this around, this is going to become important. So if I come more forward and then size it down a lot more, this is now going to start projecting this spherical, this torus shape into my model. So now this is actually projecting into the surface, right? It is now becoming part of the surface for me. And then I can do stuff like this. And then, right, remember I can do, okay, well, let's flatten this a little bit. And then I can start flattening things in here. So now that I've turned this purple cone off, this is now, how much of it do you want? Like, do you want just a nice little subtle, something like this? This is in essence, or do you want it to be full on, just give me the shape? Or do you want to kind of slowly bring the shape on? And right now, this is dynamically adding tessellation. So I'm going to turn this on. So as we're doing this stuff, right? I'm doing things like this. You see it gets kind of crazy triangles. So then now this is where the global cones come into play. So for this primitive, I want to globally change the tessellation. So if I bring this way down, then we get only pretty much what the geometry that's there available is what being used. If I start bringing this cone up, we just start automatically adding triangles to then now it's maxed out, but you see the surface is really, really clean, right? So now I'm getting a much cleaner surface here, right? And then I can say, I don't like that. Let's use this instead, right? And then now this is how I kind of like to put some subtle shapes in, okay? And so I can move this around. I can cut in with it, or I can put in into the surface, right? So see, now it's cutting in. So I can actually cut into the surface and do this. Then I can say, you know what? I want it to also look at it symmetrically. So now I have it on both sides. So this is symmetry here. So obviously red X, blue is Z, green is, and then this white one is radial. Right, so now see I'm getting a radial around the X because I've turned this on. So I could do something like this. Like doing this fast, I wouldn't have been able to do this fast, right? So this is what you have, right? Is the ability to adjust these. Okay, and then you're just gonna have, so if we reset this, let's do a full reset. Now you guys know this is a sphere. And then I can say, how much do I really want to blend that sphere? And do I just make it become a sphere pretty much? That's blending in there. Right? And if I keep pulling away, it becomes a subtract. Right? So maybe do I want that instead? Maybe smaller, and maybe up here, and now go bigger. And do I want like something like this that be happening? Or maybe do I want to be more cubicle shape like that. And then we start, maybe I want that to be taken out of it. So something like this, right? So the center of the shape is what depicts, does this shape become a subtractive piece or does it become an additive piece? So because you can see this is why we have the double bounding box, because this is outside of the bounding box, it becomes a subtract. The minute, see, I keep going and going, still subtract. Now it's starting, oh, hold on, more and more and more and more. The minute I get that, see, it becomes, once this crosses over the bounding box, now it's an additive, right? So now I'm adding in on this in here, right? So that's now what I'm doing. And now I can start playing with this. Maybe I want to do something like this. I can rotate it. Like the flexibility and the things that we're going to be able to do here is pretty awesome. Okay. And then I can say, I want it to clip there. I want it to clip there. And I just want something like that. Maybe. I don't know. I'm also, I don't know where I'm going with this model, in all honesty. I'm trying to figure it out. That's kind of why I'm using the project primitive, because I'm kind of letting happy mistakes happen and seeing what I get in this. And then I can kind of taper it, right? So this is kind of in, I can do stuff like this. Maybe I just want something like that. And maybe I just want to do it like that. Maybe I just want that little element up there on the top, and it's going to be some light or something. Maybe what's it look like if I go wider with this? Do I prefer, I kind of prefer that it going a little bit wider in there. Again, my biggest problem is the front. I don't like the front. So I need to solve that for sure. All right, so this is kind of what this project primitive can do. Can I do multiple? No, it's only picking one primitive at a time. So you can't have like one side be a cube and one side be a sphere. It's either going to be a sphere and then you can have it symmetrically on the all three axes, or you can do a radial along one axis. But you can't do completely two different primitives. That's a good thought. I like that idea. I like where you're going with that. This is again project primitive found within the gizmo right here. Project primitive is what I'm playing with. You cannot add custom shapes. That was something that was, I'll be honest with you, that was on the list of, oh, we got to do this next. We got to add some custom shapes. But again, I'm not seeing a lot of people using this, so it's hard for us to think about putting resources into this. I think it could be better to put resources in other places and certain things that we're trying to do right now, the things that we've done in the last couple of years as well. It feels very CAD-like, or the closest ZBrush can be at least. Yeah, because we don't have NERV-based for sure, yes. It's some kind of variation of Octavitron, yes. Can you enable backface masking in ZBrush? Is there a way to make them display in a different color? This is sorely needed for checking holes and intersections in geometry. Okay, hold on. Let me reread this question. You can enable backface display in ZBrush. Yes, okay. You can enable backface. I'm assuming you're referring to backface masking. Is that what you're referring to in here? Is there a way to make them display in a different color? Holes and intersections in geometry. So hold on. This sounds like you want multiple things here. So it sounds like you're looking for something that would just highlight a hole in the geometry. And then you want to highlight intersecting geometry. The intersecting geometry you can do with right now. Holes, there is nothing that we have that will highlight where a hole is on the mesh. It sounds like that's kind of what you're looking for. Is that what you're looking for? Just to clarify your question and what you're asking, just to make sure I completely understand what you're looking for, so that I give you the answer that you want. And while you're coming up with that, I'm going to play a little bit here and see. Okay, it might help if I have symmetry on, people. Symmetry is important for all of us sometimes. Well, maybe not for all of us, but most of us want symmetry, I would say. I'm going to go this route. Let's start making something more like this. Something maybe like this. I kind of really like... Whoops. Kind of like, I'm seeing something here. I think I probably will need a little bit more dense topology, but I'm okay with trying some experimentation here real quick. I really like to try and figure out ways I can kind of make what I like to call like overlapping hard surface topology. I think it just makes things a little bit more interesting when I'm looking at a final model here, right? I just find that a little bit more appealing to look at for me. Just kind of start playing with these shapes a little bit. And then this is kind of what I like. Okay, I definitely don't like this. So let's maybe come down and do this. And then I'm going to go into my masking and mask by region. Okay, it's seeing the other mask I made on the bottom. Just something, I don't know yet. I don't know yet. Do I want this to come all the way up here? And then I look at doing like stuff like this, extract, and just kind of get an idea. Do I want something like this? This is kind of why we didn't accept the extract by default, because you can kind of change the view and see if this is something you like or not. I definitely want something there. There's definitely some kind of overlapping element that I want, because I did that originally too. Right, if you remember, I had this kind of thing, which that doesn't look, that looks pretty cool. There, I did it. Not really, but let's see. Let's go to that piece actually. Oh, it's a disaster. It is a disaster. For sure. Just want to see what if it came down, there was more to it. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Nonetheless. You might want to redo something like this. I think there's definitely something here to play with and really look at, because this is where I'm sort of like this, right? It starts creating that layering, and that front of the face isn't bothering me so much. I still don't like this. I still don't not like this. I don't like it. Okay, but kind of like what we were doing here a little bit. Okay, so let's see. I'm kind of caught up on questions. Okay, and probably he meant double-sided face display with the inverted normals displays in different colors, so you can. I think I'm going to make a sword with project primitive, maybe a smooth brush that targets the protruding geometry. How do you set brush size in the hotkeys? So your hotkeys are broken. That was an easy one. So up here in your Z plugs, there is a miscellaneous folder right here, and then here's where your brackets are, which should work. They're assigned, so if it's not working for you, but there's where you can reassign your brackets for your brush size. That's it. It's right here. You just do it right here. Then you have your brackets. I meant displaying the back face in a different color. We can turn on double, but sometimes it's difficult to tell which is the top and which is the bottom of the polygons. Yeah, for sure. I could see that. I'd be intrigued. Here, let me see. I've never tried this, but let's see if this does work. I'd be intrigued to see if this works. I doubt it's going to work, but why not try something? Okay. I doubt this is going to work. What if we did... because where are you? Polygroups. Polygroup front. Yeah. In essence, this is displaying the polygons that only the camera can see. So I made a new polygroup based upon that polygroup plane. Like we have the real-time stuff for when you have a drafting angle. We have that real-time stuff, and you can also apply it as paint. Same thing for masking. So that's the only thing we have. And then thickness. You can use thickness, but that's also with paint. So from thickness, you can do that. So you'll get different ranges in color, right? So if you start getting something pretty thin like this, and then you tell it from thickness, see it'll highlight in red, which is no good based upon the thickness that I put here with some min and max. So that means the minimum thickness is getting below 1 millimeter when it's getting to be red, right? And then so you can do this, and then you can start looking at things like this as well. The only way to tell if it's inverted faces is make sure double's not on. That's why we don't have double on by default. Is one of the main reasons. Is if you have inverted faces, like if I'm pulling on this and going through, right, you can clearly see that these are inverted. But if you have double always on, you're never going to know, because double is telling it to render both inverted and non-inverted faces. So you're never going to know that's inverted. So this is why we have double turned off. So that's also a thing to think about too. But I like the, think of the back face masking a different color. I like it. There could be some complications making that be real time, especially when you start getting up obviously to higher polygon counts. When you start getting in the tens of millions, now you got to be trying to do that live, and it's just going to be probably not even possible to do live. But it's definitely something to put on the list and see what we can make happen for sure. I like the idea. I like the thought. Okay. I think I caught up to all the questions. Yes. How many people we got watching now? I don't even know. I have no idea. Because my chat doesn't want to give me the right number. I think I'd have to log out and log back in, which I think would be, I can't do that here, but I might be able to do it here. I don't know why it's not giving me the numbers. So strange. Just so I know I'm not alone. 46, okay. There are so many ways to do things for sure. Miriam, how do you select the faces when we don't see them? How do you select the faces when we don't see them? Well, ZBrush sees them though. So if you're doing a selection, if you're doing this, it sees the faces regardless. Even if this is like an inverted, right? So this is inverted. If you do this, it still selects the faces. It's still going to do that. I'm not sure if that's what you're... Inverting, you want to flip the... You can do that just by visibility. So these faces that are inverted, like I would do something like this, and then grow them out. Something like this, right? So what you're trying to do is you want faces... only the inverted faces to be selected. That's a little different, but you can then flip, and then now these are not, I flipped them the other way now, right? And then now these are flipped inverted the other way. So you can use visibility to invert, but trying to get only the faces that are inverted. Oh, trying to think if I can think of a quick way to do that. If that's what you're looking for, I think that's what you could be looking for. Can't think of a quick way. Trying to think if there's something maybe in ZModeler I can use. Can't think of anything off the top of my head to allow that, unfortunately. Can't think of anything. All right, keep the questions coming. as I try to figure out what the heck am I making for this guy. Now it looks like a VR headset. What's the taper going to look like? What if I started tapering it? Don't know if I like the taper. That's interesting, but always I keep getting with this flatness though. That's my problem. Okay, kind of like that. Interesting. I am struggling with the front of the head. I kind of don't like what I'm doing. See if project primitive will just make something pop out for me. I kind of liked. Let's go to a different one. Let's go with the deformer. Kind of liked when I was playing with this kind of mindset. I was feeling this a little bit more for me. Kind of like that softness that's happening. Do I want that? Do I want like crazy? Or just subtle? Kind of like a little bit of the subtle. Let's try it with less points. Let's see with just this. Do I prefer something like that? Now he's a vacuum. I don't know. I just don't know. It's one of those artistic brain function stops. Yeah, we can probably look at doing an option for sure. Again, the problem is, though, what you're bringing up with Max and Maya, they're not dealing with tens of millions of polygons. So the calculations will take longer with more polygons for sure. Clean curvature with hard surface is kind of how I've been getting this, right? So there are just some particular brushes. Like for me right now, I probably maybe would want to start playing even with this brush, be in symmetry mode, and say maybe I want this kind of, do I want that? Create a nice, but I would say I kind of want to do something more like this and then only have that effect, not even that much, maybe even just this much. Right? And then have something like that, maybe. And then again, the H polish brush is going to be one of your friends. So this is more of a sculpting brush. So as I get closer and closer to the edge, it's going to clean. Like, so if I want this edge to be a little bit more predominant, you can see I'll go really slow. It kind of will start trying to keep that edge. And if I come this way on the other side of the plane, right, and then just keep this going, you'll see that the edge keeps getting, right, a little bit more clean, a little bit more clean, a little bit more clean. And then I tend to also like to use the pinch brush, right? So use this brush so I can kind of just pinch that, right? So we'll go a little bit smaller here. And then so now if I just go here, It's pinching that line, and if I do the 1 key, I get it again, right? Again, 1 key, I get it again, and then I redynamesh, and then there I've made a cleaner line through there with the pinch. This is one thing I like to do. Don't let trim dynamic, okay, be second fiddle. I really like this brush, especially when I start looking at, once we start getting up a little bit more in divisions, I can kind of use this brush to do stuff like that, right? So if we do, let's divide up, okay? And then now I can start digging into this, right? Stuff like this. But this is also where then maybe even having something like thick skin turned on and see what that does. So I'm only going to be able to go so thick deep into the surface eventually. So I can say, okay, let's make it be far less. And I'm just playing with this. This has got another piece of geo there. Right, so there's stuff like this. You can build up the surface as well. And then it's going to always stop at that level. But you can build up a surface this way too. Okay. Oh, you bet. Thanks for coming to the ZBrush Summit. Older Kirby vacuum is so right. Happy Friday. Random question. What are the chances that we can get curve controls similar to your other Nomad sculpt and stuff? It's something that we can, ideas and thoughts we have for sure. I can't say too much about development because there's stuff that's happening. So, but yeah, I hear you for that for sure. Trying to get a curve control feature with a new curve mode that you have your busy and curving controls and your point controls. Sure, can understand that. You never know. I wish I could tell you 100% yeses and nos. But again, we are in the middle of really starting to ramp up our looking at how we're going to do some maybe design changes for the ZBrush UI. Like that's our big project right now that we're all ramping up into as a team. Like that. Okay. Okay, I think we need like a mask here. And then a mask to maybe here. Let's go to a mask to here, maybe. What would this look like? That's interesting. So I'm going to start putting some stuff in there. Make it a little different. Let's grab another piece of topology. Let's take this. And in fact, let's just duplicate the head. Let's grab a cube. Just create something a little different in here. That I'll use to build off of later. Let's call this head cube. All right, I'm gonna duplicate this, and I think I want to try and see what if we gave some kind of other chin look. I think that's also part of my problem. Go a little bit of Eva. And then maybe deformation. We got too many points. Something like this. Mm-hmm. Okay, and let's Dynamesh this. Okay, it is Dynamesh, then I prefer something more like that. Kind of, what if we follow this same line? Put that there as well. Okay, so should we go a little more extreme? It's going to start clipping the top part too. I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I like that. Don't know if I like that. What if we do split the parts? Let's switch to the knife this time. Okay, we got this. Okay, let's just look at this. What if we definitely don't want that curve? I'm intrigued. What is this going to look like if we do this? There's another one in here. Right, this is where I start to have more. Okay, I'm starting to see something happen, right? I really like layering up stuff, cutting things up. Okay, so now I definitely want to kind of maybe we should go just, let's give it a try. No, don't like that at all. No. Okay, I like that is what we got going. I'll figure something out here. Even if it's just a little bit like that. Yeah, we're going to be building more in here for sure. Okay, we're getting something. I think we should have some fun with some surfaces on here. Let's bring in some rounded shapes, I think, in here. Kind of like maybe there'll be some sensors or something also on top of him here. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just being me. I don't know why that song just got in my head. I got the Kent song in my head all of a sudden. Let's do a project primitive again, but let's go. I'm thinking round. Let's do this. I'm thinking let's make it symmetrical. Let's make it really tiny. And let's do, like, you can definitely do, it's too eye-like though. I don't like that. Like, I'm looking for something a little bit more like this. Let's up the resolution and then let's make it be flat. And then now let's play with this. I don't know, what do you guys think? I kind of like that. And then we can have something come off there. Some kind of cylindrical element can come off there. Would that be too much? I wonder if that'll be too much. let's just real quick do an experiment. Let's grab a cylinder and let's just draw a cylinder off this. Is it going to look weird silhouette-wise? Maybe not so much. Maybe just a little bit of one. Let's turn our local symmetry and dynamic off. Like, do we do this? I feel like it's always a circle piece that keeps getting used over and over and over again, right? And then it's starting to feel a little too much like matter-of-fact eyes kind of a thing, which I guess isn't horrible per se, but I think, okay, I'm okay with, I'm kind of feeling this idea, but I want to experiment. Instead of doing project parameter, let's try something else. Let's go to our chisels. Let's get the chisel shape, and we have stuff like this that we can start playing with. Let's make these be. I want to make these be bigger, like this one. I went too far. I've gone too far. That's fine. We can get rid of this. Which? I think I've lost the one that I was playing with. Yeah, I've gone too far. Wow. Watching it change is really interesting. All right. I've been manipulating these too much. So again, is this still on? I really liked this idea. But I want split to parts, and I don't want a clip. I want a knife. In fact, I want to do like this. Looks like, yes. I have the deletion, so let's split the parts, and I feel like maybe we need to start playing with this even. Yeah, I'm starting to feel that a little bit better. Do I want to go, do I go extreme? And then let's say now I want to switch to clip. Like, do I go super extreme with this? And then we build an, ooh, maybe, I got an idea here. Let's take a Ganter at this. Let's split this off again. Wait, what am I doing here? Okay, let's split it. Now let's turn this back on. And I'm intrigued to see, let's turn this on. If I split from here, okay, I gotta go back to the knife brush. Right, and then we inverse this. Let's center it. This is kind of the experiments I like to do. Okay. Yep. We're starting to get something here that feels a little bit more of where I kind of want to start going with this guy. Okay, so then now this piece, right? Let's reset this, bring this in, And then I'm going to, don't need this. Let's cut this right off. And now do we want to go, that's now the question. Do we want this? I think what we do now is we follow, keep this a line, right? And then keep this, and let's repeat the pattern of this right now a little bit, I think. It's just doubling. It's kind of looking like a insect, like robotic thing now. I don't know why to me, but it is. Almost like I want to now say push. Okay, what do we got here? Let's make this now its own piece as well. Split hidden. Because I feel like maybe, what if I started pushing this in? So it's, oh, it's not inside. I kind of want to, okay. I kind of want an inside surface there. I don't know, we'll see. Maybe I'll have to mask something off here that comes across. Right, I'm seeing something. Something's starting to come to me. Something's coming to me for sure. Okay, wait, I've not been paying attention and I've gotten into my own world. Okay, happy Friday. We are watching Nice Man. Looking forward to hearing what you guys do, especially in the UI artist and stuff. Fully functional 3D curves in ZBrush, including the ability to save, load, edit, reuse them as objects. Okay, well, you can save curves out. You can save, load, edit curves. But not, if you're talking about the curves I'm playing with, no, you can't. How would you go about Z-remeshing this piece? For low polygon model, you could optimize, or do you prefer manual retopology? This now, I'd probably do a quick Z-remesh and then use the new retopo brush that we highlighted. Would definitely a way I would go about trying to tackle this and go at this for sure. Would be one thing I would probably look at doing in there. So that would be one way I would look at doing this for sure. Right now, I'm just trying to see if I want to do anything interesting. Okay, kind of like that. I don't like what's happening back here. No, okay, so it's very rounded. Okay, no. 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 Okay, I like this. I find myself doing this a lot now in some of my hard surface pieces. Like, I kind of want to do it here too. Right, but I think maybe I do more something like this. What does that look like? I create that little shelf maybe. See what we get here. No. No. Definitely don't like it. No. Okay, I do like that roundness that keeps happening in there. Okay, that's nice. Okay, I think these are one of the ones where I'm going to do some kind of sculptural element in there for sure. Okay, so let's get back to this. I was going to go to the chisel. Let's do also a, some of you I guess don't know, but there is now a save next, save as, and save, right? So if I do a save as, and then I'm going to save this somewhere. Okay, I'll save this to my desktop. For now, let's make a new folder. Okay, and then let's call this hard surface head ZPR. Okay, so now after I save this, if I start to do a save next, it's automatically going to do iterations for me, right? So this save next, which is Option Control S, right, for me. So it's Alt Control S. We'll save next. And then so what it'll automatically do is save this project, and then it'll automatically put it, hold on, when it's done, it'll automatically put it in the folder that I just saved the original in, and then also just change this to, hold on, sorry, gotta get to it. Where are you? There it is. So it automatically will do this. So see, it said 0001 and then it automatically goes 002. I'm a big iteration saver, and I think you all should be. I don't think you should be riding the coattails of overriding a file, especially when you start working with 3D. That gets pretty hairy. It gets pretty dicey. That can get dicey. All right. So let's switch back to this chisel shapes and go with, do I want to do something like this? But let's do drag stamp. Like, do I want something like this, right? So let's do a drag stamp like that. And then I'm going to go here and say, let's put another one there. And let's put another one there. Like, do I want to do something like this? Maybe let's go smaller. And then do another one there, another one there, another one there, another one there. Like, kind of make some kind of spherical element. Maybe just spikes. No, there's a cone. That's a barrel. There's an antenna, right? I could see this being more probably like down here, or on this part down here. Some kind of antenna thing coming out. Like, I could see that, or even in here, or again in the back, some kind of antenna element. Something like that, maybe. I don't know. I'm just playing right now. Okay, so I kind of like Let's do this. And let's put another one there and another one there. Do I want that odd number thing happening? I hate when you're getting a jam, you're just like, I don't know if I like this. I don't know if I like it. Okay, I kind of like that, but let's go even bigger. Let's go even bigger. That's interesting. It's funny how much I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, that was kind of interesting. That's kind of interesting. But I think really big was just something really interesting. Okay, as much as we try to stay away from this cylinder thing, I can't get rid of it. There's a ring, but the cylindrical thing is really interesting to me. I kind of dewy. It looks a little weird maybe because I got this going and this going. Let's look at that silhouettes a little bit. I don't know. It's kind of interesting, right? What? You can do it down here. Almost like some kind of apparatus, breathing apparatus for him. Right, and then If I go the other direction. And then brush insert. What if I did do now a cylinder there? What do you guys think? You guys think this looks ridiculous? What are you guys feeling? Help me out here. Help me out here. We're designing on the fly. Because definitely can make a cool cylinder there. This is kind of like how I work with hard surface. I just try to throw some shapes together and seeing. I'm not trying to get perfection right now. I'm just trying to throw some stuff together and see what's really sitting with me, what's not sitting with me, what's working, what maybe is not working. Because obviously I'll make a better cylindrical thing there for sure, I think, which will make it be a little bit better. You guys go ahead and chime in when you're ready. Kind of want to feel like, what does this look like? That knife. I'm gonna use my old clippy stand, my old pal, my old buddy, old pal clip. Okay, definitely. I like that better. Let's not make these part of it. So that when I, when I redynamish. Okay. Saving. Cleaner silhouette without having all the craziness. Yeah, I think so too. And then I think this would be some kind of maybe control panel element. Okay, and the front is now not starting to bother me as much anymore too. So, which is good. That was a goal of mine. Just start putting some shapes in here. Let's see, what if I... Okay, what if I clipped across here? Do I like that? Or do I want maybe reiterating that? Yeah. Okay. This kind of, let's redo it up here, right? Like taking this idea, this, and let's re-put that up here or something a little close to it just so, yeah. There we go. Okay. All right, I like that. I like the layering that's starting to happen here for me. I'm a big fan of that. Let's put some kind of like control panel or something on the back of the head, I think would be cool to do with this. And again, I got to do the neck and I got to do a shoulder piece, but I think what I'm starting to get for a head is starting to work for me. I think I'm really starting to dig it. I'm starting to get something different, something out there, something crazy. A snail eye, that's okay. Hold on. Speaking of smooth, very curved surface, would be very nice to have a brush that can auto polish curves, hard surface defined by mask area and interpolate set of profile curve. You can do that already, from what you're asking. Speaking of smooth, very curved surface, would be very nice to have a brush that can auto polish curve hard surface. So you're talking like this, like where I'm kind of gotten this and you kind of want to polish it in a way. So obviously polygrouping is going to help with that a lot. But I also could throw at this. There's a couple things that I could throw. I could do some clay polish, right? And then now clear it. And there I just polished off that, made that cleaner, and then through there. So this was before, this is now. You know what, now that I look at this, I think it's too close to the front. Or now looking at this, let's go back to this. Let's go to this. Let's take this guy. Let's do this. Let's go back into this. And brush history. Okay, don't want symmetry on. Let's bring that shape back a little bit again. Each polish. Let's polish that off. Okay, and then let's do mirror and weld because I didn't do the other side. Oh, I see a little problem here that I have. So let's grab this one. Oops. Okay. I don't want H polish, I want history. Let's erase this, I think. Let's take another crack at this. Let's mirror and weld it over. I kind of want to see something now. Now that I got this cylinder, we were using this, and then I did a subtract. What if I want real big? See, what I'm thinking is, what if I did like that'd be super crazy different. Nah, I don't like it. I say I stick with this. Okay, let's go smaller. Let's just not put it so close. It was too close. Too close for my comfort. So something like that. Yeah, okay. Let's go with that. And I'll mirror and weld this over. Whoops, not delete. Mirror and weld it over. Okay. There. I prefer that. Yeah, I prefer that. That's better. Okay, wait. Chat. For making hard surface sci-fi helmets concept. No, it wasn't that was Drust that did the helmets. It wasn't me. Trim hole brush might also be a good choice for this one. Yep. Trim hole's great for stuff like that, for sure. But what I like about this is it's already got a soft bevel around it. So I'm getting a bevel for free. And then, you know what I'd probably want to do here is I probably want to polygroup that off. So I would want to start doing last chain point. So you're looking at this. So if we go symmetrical, let's see if I do that, let's say, as an example. That's actually quite interesting. I can make a new polygroup, see, from that. So if we, that's actually pretty interesting. Kind of digging that. So we grew it out instead. This is why I also like the new drag stamp. I can kind of evaluate things. All right. And then I'm going to make that be a new polygroup. Right, so I need to then make it a new polygroup. There, it's a new polygroup. And then I didn't have the symmetry on once again. Mirror and welding. Then I can bring everything back. And then now these maybe stand offish a little bit more like this. Okay, let's get rid of these. I don't like these anymore like this. And let's go to here. Let's brush insert. Let's grab this. Let's grab this. And I kind of want something probably around that size. And then they're going to come off like this. Yeah. Split on last points. Let's take this. Let's do this. For symmetry, let's do a little Z modeler action. Let's do a little bit of that. Let's do polygroup it. Polygroup, flat island. Flat island. What time we got? Oh man, I gotta go soon, unfortunately. Shrink it, repolygroup it, boom. Q mesh that now, polygroup all, and have it just go into the surface so that design-wise I can see where I'm trying to go with this. Okay, there. Digging it, liking it, much better. It's just brute force at this point. I don't even know where I'm going. All this is made up in my head right now. I'm just using ZBrush in essence to design, really, is what I'm doing right now, right? So that's my goal, is I'm just coming up with a design that I didn't even know I wanted. So I started messing with it on the iPad, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then I just have been building it from here, right? And then just starting to build some stuff out. Okay, so there's just at least something a little bit cooler of a cylinder to look at. Okay, I like that. I like where that is. I like that that's going. I don't think the double thing bothers me too much because the silhouette this way is cool. The silhouette this way is cool. From the top, yeah, maybe there's something there I can do there. Okay. Okay. Like, do I want to start thinking about maybe cutting into this? Maybe do I want to, dare I say, I really love this feature, man. I really love that we can do stuff like this with the knife brush now. And then I can go, okay, let's inverse this. Let's center it. Let's make our local on. And then now I can say, let me just resize this down and then push it in. And then maybe even make it be skinnier. And then wider even. Oops. It's just adds some kind of element to it, right? It's just something really cool. And then I want to say maybe, okay, let's look at it this way. Let's have it be actually a clean piece. Just have some kind of piece that goes across there. Right, something that does that, okay? And then I'm liking, let's separate this since they're separate pieces. Let's start splitting. Normally I would also, I'm breaking my most cardinal rule of not naming things. Let's do that. Save, Control, Alt S. Let's do an iteration save. So we got an iteration save in here going on. Okay, where I started, I wasn't excited. Now I'm getting a little bit more excited of where I'm going, what I'm doing here. And then, again, I try to stay very rough with my models if I can. Split hidden. Okay, and then now this is what I really would think would be cool. Let's look at, okay, let's make sure symmetry is on. Okay, symmetry is on. Do you guys know how I know symmetry is on? Does anybody know? Is for 1 million points, which means nothing, is symmetry on? Because I know it's on. And what it is there's symmetry is off, symmetry is on. Symmetry is off, symmetry is on. Hopefully you guys can see it in the video. Off, on, off, on, off, on. So when it's on, you'll have a double circle on the outside circle. And what I kind of want to do is try seeing what if we, let's use a masking curve. Let's just take, this doesn't need to even be perfect. Let's take this. And then now what if I just gizmo that? Wait, what if I just gizmo this? And we'll follow along that and just make this actually pop out a little bit more. Like give me something like that. Almost like they're, yeah, I like that. It's like little wingy things happening in there. Okay. All right. I unfortunately need to bounce. Maybe we'll see. I'm supposed to stream I'm going to stream next Friday as well. I'm going to keep working on this because I'm starting to feel this guy. And I think we need to get to level of, okay, how do we clean all this up? Because those questions were being asked as well from me, to me, not from me. So this will be something we can do next Friday. I don't know how to answer. Wait, hold on. I'm catching up. So let me catch up because I got to jump, unfortunately, to a meeting that I have scheduled. But I like where it's going. I like the head that I'm starting to make here. I'm starting to make something interesting, that's for sure. At least for me. Yeah, I'll definitely clean this up. We'll keep going with the design. Let's see. I think total jazz. I think I need to give me an example. Take a screenshot of my model right now, then show me what you're thinking of. There might be a feature that already does this. I just got to think of it, in all honesty. Wait, what? I'm trying to read this question. I always one subtool on one side and all the other subtools on the other side. It'd be cool to specify which subtools are visible on each side. That one I don't follow. If you can put some more into that question. You like the big button on the top for symmetry. Okay. All right. Well, I have no idea how many are here because for some reason my chat wasn't giving me updates and showing me. So no biggie. Thank you for joining me for this little fun fest that I've been doing right now with this. But I'll continue shaping this guy out. I think the head is, I've gotten pretty much, I think, most of the major pieces. I don't know. There's something I want to do in the back of the head too, I think. In the top of the head, I think there's something there I kind of want to play with. Then you start making a neck and then some kind of shoulder piece. But then we'll go from there. So Total Jazz, make a video for me and send it to me. Well, thanks for tuning in from Finland. That's awfully nice of you. All right, Total Jazz, make a video for me and send it to me. You can send it to me on ZBrush Central. You can email it to me here if you want to email it to me. This is my email address. I'm going to put in. I'd love to see what you're saying so I can just wrap my head around, make sure I am wrapping my head around the right way of what you're trying to do. Okay? All right, everyone. I really got to go, unfortunately. I'm late for a meeting. Thank you for tuning in. Next week, we'll continue on this piece. All right. Bye. Have a delicious weekend.